Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The last laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go. The text came on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing contracts at my home office. My phone lit up with Mom's name, and I already knew it wouldn't be good news. Mom, Jenna, about the reunion. We need to talk. I stared at the screen, my coffee going cold in my hand. The Caldwell family reunion. The event I'd been planning for 8 months. The gathering I'd spent countless hours organizing, coordinating, and, most importantly, funding. Me, what's wrong? Mom, space is limited at the resort. We had to make some difficult decisions. Your brother Marcus thinks it's best if you sit this one out. Focus on work. You understand? I read the message 3 times. Sit this one out. The reunion I'd organized. The event I'd booked. The weekend I'd paid for. Me, I planned this entire reunion, Mom. Mom, and we appreciate that. But family is complicated. Marcus's wife Stephanie feels uncomfortable. Something about a misunderstanding at Christmas. It's just easier if you're not there. We'll send photos. I set my phone down carefully on my desk. The misunderstanding at Christmas. That's what we were calling it now. The incident where Stephanie had borrowed my grandmother's pearl necklace from my house during the holiday party and I'd asked for it back. She'd called me selfish. Marcus had called me dramatic. Mom had said I was making a scene over jewelry. The necklace was worth $18,000. It was the only thing I had left from my grandmother. And Stephanie had taken it from my bedroom without asking. But I was the problem. I should have seen this coming. I was always the problem in the Caldwell family. The youngest of 3, the one who'd chosen business school over an early marriage. The one who'd moved to the city instead of staying in our hometown of Millbrook. The one who asked questions and set boundaries instead of just going along with whatever Marcus and my sister Lauren decided. Marcus was the golden child, married at 24, 2 kids, worked at Dad's old accounting firm. Lauren was the perfect daughter, 3 kids, stay-at-home mom, married to a lawyer. And then there was me. 33, single, CEO of my own event planning company, making more money than both my siblings combined. They hated that last part, even if they'd never say it out loud. My phone buzzed again. Lauren, Mom told me. Sorry, Jen. You know how Marcus is. Maybe next time? Me, I organized this reunion. I booked everything. Lauren, I know, and we're grateful. But family harmony is more important than logistics. You can plan the next one. I laughed out loud in my empty office. Family harmony. That was rich. Let me explain something about the Caldwell family reunion. This wasn't some backyard barbecue. This was a 3-day luxury weekend at the Grandview Mountain Resort, a 5-star property 2 hours outside the city. I'd booked the entire West Wing, 12 suites, a private event space, a catered dinner for 40 people, a guided hiking excursion, a kids' activities coordinator, and a farewell brunch. Total cost, $32,000. And I'd paid for every single dollar of it. Not the family fund. Not a group contribution. Me. Jenna Caldwell, owner of Caldwell Events and Company, the boutique event planning firm that specialized in high-end corporate retreats and luxury weddings. My family thought I planned little parties for a living. They had no idea that my company generated $2.4 million in annual revenue. They didn't know that I'd planned events for 3 Fortune 500 companies last year, or that I'd been featured in Event Planning magazine as one of the top 30 under 35 in the industry. They thought I was doing okay. Maybe making $70,000 a year, living in a nice apartment, getting by. They had no idea I owned a penthouse in the city worth $1.9 million. Or that I drove a Tesla Model S that I'd paid for in cash. Or that my client list included celebrities, tech executives, and politicians. I'd learned to keep my success quiet. 3 years ago, I'd mentioned closing a major contract, and Marcus had said, "Must be nice to play with other people's money." When I'd bought my penthouse, Lauren had said, "Seems lonely for one person. When are you going to settle down and buy a real family home?" So I'd stopped sharing. Let them think what they wanted. But I hadn't stopped caring about family. When Mom had mentioned wanting to do a big reunion, something we hadn't done since Dad passed 5 years ago, I'd jumped at the chance. I'd told her I'd handle everything. She'd been relieved. "Are you sure, honey? That sounds expensive," she'd said. "I've got it, Mom. My gift to the family." I'd spent 8 months planning every detail. Called 43 relatives. Coordinated schedules. Booked accommodations suited to everyone's needs, accessible rooms for Aunt Carol's wheelchair, adjoining suites for families with young kids, the premium suite for Mom. I'd hired Mason and Pearl Catering, the best in the region, $8,400 for the Saturday dinner. Every vendor had been carefully selected. Every detail perfectly planned. Every contract signed by me. And now they were uninviting me from my own event. I picked up my phone and called the resort directly. Grandview Mountain Resort, this is Amanda speaking. How may I help you? Hi Amanda, this is Jenna Caldwell. I have a reservation for the Caldwell family reunion, June 14th through 16th. Oh yes, Miss Caldwell. We're so excited to host your family. Everything is confirmed and ready. I need to clarify something. The reservation is under my name, correct? And I'm the primary contact? Yes ma'am. You're listed as the organizer and the credit card holder. All vendor contracts require your signature for final approval. Perfect. Thank you. I hung up and stared at my computer screen. All vendor contracts require your signature. I opened my email and found the folder labeled Family Reunion. 43 emails. Contracts, confirmations, payment schedules. Every single document had my name on it. My credit card. My signature. My company listed as the organizer. The resort didn't know Marcus or Stephanie or Lauren. They knew me. I sat back in my chair and took a deep breath. Then I did what I always do when I need to think clearly. I went for a walk. The city was beautiful in early June. I walked for an hour, past the coffee shop where I met with clients, past the park where I sometimes worked on my laptop, past the building where I'd signed my first major contract 4 years ago. By the time I got back to my apartment, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Nothing. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to explain to my mother that you can't uninvite someone from an event they organized and paid for. I was just going to let it play out. Me, okay, Mom. I understand. Hope everyone has a wonderful time. Mom, thank you for being so understanding, sweetie. We knew you'd get it. I turned off my phone and went back to work. June 14th arrived. The reunion was scheduled to begin with check-in at 2 p.m., followed by a welcome reception at 6 p.m. I spent the morning in my office, catching up on emails and reviewing proposals for new clients. At 3:47 p.m., my phone rang. I'd turned it back on that morning, curious about the inevitable. It was the Grandview Mountain Resort. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Caldwell, this is David Chen, the events manager at Grandview Mountain Resort. We have a situation. What kind of situation, David? His voice was strained. We have approximately 35 members of the Caldwell family in our lobby. They've checked in for your event, and everything was proceeding normally. However, our catering director just informed me that the final contract for Saturday's dinner requires your signature before we can confirm. Similarly, the activities coordinator needs your approval for the children's entertainment setup, and our restaurant manager needs your signature for the farewell brunch contract. I see. Miss Caldwell, without these signatures, we cannot proceed with the contracted services. I understand your policy, David. Can you come to the resort? Or perhaps provide electronic signature authorization? We have guests arriving for the welcome reception in just over 2 hours. I looked at my calendar. David, I'm actually not attending this reunion. There was a change of plans. Silence on the other end. Then, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I won't be attending. Family decided to limit the guest list. But Miss Caldwell, you organized the entire event. Your credit card is on file. All the contracts are in your name. I have 5 different vendors who need final approval before they can set up. Without your signature, we'll have to cancel the contracted services. That sounds like a significant problem. Miss Caldwell, with all due respect, this is highly unusual. We have 40 guests expecting a luxury experience. The Saturday dinner, the activities, the brunch, all of it requires your authorization. What happens if I don't provide authorization, David? Another pause. Then we'll have to inform the guests that the contracted services are canceled. The rooms are still available, those were paid for in advance. But the catering, activities, and additional services will not be provided. And unfortunately, because these cancellations would be happening less than 72 hours before the event, all deposits are non-refundable. That's $32,000 in total charges that would remain on your credit card. $32,000 non-refundable. For an event I wasn't invited to. How much notice do you need, David? Miss Caldwell, I need an answer now. My catering director is standing in front of me. The hiking company guide is arriving in 30 minutes. The children's entertainment coordinator is setting up equipment. I have vendors asking for final approval. I'll need to think about it. Miss Caldwell, please. I'll call you back in an hour, David. I need to consider my options. I hung up before he could respond. My phone immediately rang again. Mom. Jenna. What is happening? The resort is saying there's a problem with the catering. Hi Mom. I thought I wasn't invited. Don't be dramatic. There's some kind of mix-up with the vendors. They're saying they need your signature? Can you just call them and approve everything? I could do that. Then do it. Everyone's here. Marcus is furious. Stephanie is crying. The kids are running around the lobby. This is a disaster. Sounds stressful. Jenna Marie Caldwell, this is not the time for attitude. Just sign whatever they need. Actually, Mom, I'm reconsidering my participation in this event. What does that mean? It means I'm not sure I want to authorize $32,000 in services for an event I'm not invited to. The silence was deafening. You wouldn't dare, Mom finally said, her voice icy. Wouldn't I? If you ruin this reunion, Jenna, I will never forgive you. Your brother will never forgive you. You'll be cut off from this family permanently. I organized this reunion, Mom. I planned every detail. I paid for everything. And you uninvited me because Stephanie was uncomfortable. She's family. So am I. Or I was. I hung up. My phone exploded. Texts from Lauren. Calls from Marcus. Even messages from aunts and uncles I barely knew. Marcus, call the resort now. This is insane. Lauren, Jenna, please don't do this. Think of the kids. Aunt Carol, what's going on, dear? They're saying dinner is cancelled? Uncle Robert, did you really not sign the contracts? Everyone's confused. I silenced my phone and made myself a cup of tea. At 4:32 p.m., my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera. Marcus stood in my building's lobby, red-faced and furious. I buzzed him up. He stormed into my apartment without greeting. What the hell is wrong with you? Hello, Marcus. How's the resort? Don't play games. Sign the contracts. Now. I wasn't invited, remember? Why would I sign contracts for an event I'm not attending? You're being petty and vindictive. This is exactly why Stephanie didn't want you there. You can't just be normal. Normal? I spent 8 months planning this reunion. I paid $32,000 for a luxury weekend for 40 people. And your wife decided I wasn't welcome because I asked her to return a stolen necklace. She didn't steal it. She borrowed it. From my bedroom. Without asking. That's stealing, Marcus. His face went from red to purple. Sign the contracts, Jenna. No. What? I said no. I'm not authorizing services for an event I'm not invited to. The rooms are paid for. Everyone can stay there and order room service. But the catered dinner, the activities, the farewell brunch, that all requires my signature. And I'm not giving it. No. You can't do this. Actually, I can. I organized it. I paid for it. My name is on every contract. I'll sue you. For what? Not attending an event I paid for? Good luck. Marcus stared at me, breathing hard. Mom was right about you. You've always been selfish. Always put yourself first. This just proves it. I put myself first? Marcus, I planned an entire luxury weekend for 40 people. I didn't ask anyone to contribute a single dollar. And you thanked me by uninviting me because your wife threw a tantrum. This is about more than the necklace. Then what's it about? He faltered. You make everything about you. Your success, your company, your money. You make the rest of us feel small. And there it was. The truth. I make you feel small because I'm successful? You flaunt it. I never talk about my work, Marcus. I never mention my income. I've kept everything quiet for years because every time I share anything, you find a way to diminish it. That's not true. It's completely true. When I got the magazine feature, you said event planning wasn't a real career. When I bought my penthouse, Lauren said it was sad that I lived alone. When I closed the Hamilton Corp contract, you said I was just good at spending other people's money. My voice stayed calm, measured. I learned to hide my success because my own family couldn't handle it. Marcus's phone rang. He glanced at it and answered. What? Okay. I'll tell her. He hung up and looked at me with desperation replacing anger. The resort just informed everyone that all services are cancelled. People are leaving. Mom is crying. Aunt Carol had to sit down because her blood pressure spiked. Uncle Robert is demanding to know what happened. Then tell them the truth. Tell them you uninvited the person who organized and paid for the entire event. Tell them Stephanie was uncomfortable, so you decided I shouldn't come. Tell them I asked for grandmother's necklace back, and that made me the villain. Jenna, please. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. Just fix this. I don't think I will. What do you want? An apology? You have it. I'm sorry. Stephanie is sorry. Mom is sorry. Are you sorry, Marcus? Or are you sorry that there are consequences? He didn't answer. That's what I thought. I walked to my door and opened it. You should get back to the resort. I'm sure there's a lot to figure out. 40 people drove hours to get there. Yes. For the reunion I organized. The one you uninvited me from. I looked at him directly. You made a choice, Marcus. You chose Stephanie's comfort over my presence. That's fine. That's your right. But actions have consequences. And the consequence of uninviting me is that I'm no longer invested in making sure your event runs smoothly. You're punishing everyone because of a personal grudge. No. I'm setting a boundary. There's a difference. Marcus's phone rang again. He looked at the screen and actually went pale. It's the resort manager. You should probably answer that. He stepped into the hallway, and I closed the door behind him. 3 days later, I received a single text from my mother. Mom, I never knew you were so successful. David Chen told us about your company. About the clients you work with. The events you plan. Why didn't you tell us? I stared at the message for a long time before responding. I tried. You weren't interested. You were too busy comparing me to Marcus and Lauren. Mom, we owe you a real apology. Not just for the reunion. For years of not seeing you. Can we talk? Maybe. Eventually. But not right now. I learned later that the resort manager had explained to my entire family exactly who I was. The owner of Caldwell Events and Company. The woman who'd planned events for the Hamilton Corporation, for Tech Fusion Incorporated, for 3 sitting congresspeople. The event planner featured in magazines and industry publications. David Chen had apparently said, "Your daughter is one of the most respected event planners in the state. We were honored she chose our resort for her family gathering." Mom had apparently burst into tears. Marcus had gone silent. Stephanie had left early. The family had spent 3 days at the resort with no planned activities, no catered meals, and no organized events. Just expensive rooms and the slowly dawning realization that they'd uninvited the person holding everything together.